Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of the Pixel Crashers podcast, a podcast where we discuss our thoughts on gaming news. I am Angelus de Mortiel, together with Kev the Gamer.
Hey, what up?
MajorStupidity.
Hey, what's up?
And today we are joined by our first guest host, Deathstroud09, aka Travis.
How's it going, everyone?
Welcome to the show. So let's start off with a quick note here, a little bit of a nerdy note. So they released some images, some images for the Captain America Civil War that's coming out, and I just want to note that I thought those cheeky bastards at Marvel. I thought that in the last Avengers movie that it was kind of stupid that they had the little romance between Black Widow, Captain America.
Don't spoil it. I haven't seen.
Me neither.
It was complete. No.
It's
Completely not spoiler because it has nothing to do with the story.
But Joe likes spoiling games. She tried to spoil Fallout for me, so spoil everything.
No, in any case, though,
it's been like 7 years. Come on.
Yeah, but in any case, there was this little contrived romance between Black Widow and Captain America.
They were hinting at it, and
and they're hinting at it. But guess what? In like Civil War, they announced the teams, and guess who's on opposite teams? I thought that was like, oh, that's clever. I see what you guys were doing there. But yeah,
I haven't seen it. I only saw that first Captain America movie.
Yeah, no, they. Oh god.
Winter Soldier's amazing.
You guys called me scrubs. You haven't even seen.
I'm not a big movie person.
I didn't see Winter Soldier until like a few months ago, and that's like
there's a lot of movies I've seen.
I've seen
Winter
all
Soldier
tons
is
of times.
really good.
Yes,
Winter Soldier is one of the top Marvel movies right now. You need to see that one. That one is just damn good.
I recommend seeing all of them. All of them. Just every one of them.
Like, I love the X-Men
Guardians
movies.
of the Galaxy.
You said what, Kev? The X-Men movies are horrible. They are so bad.
A lot of
them. I like all of the ones
except for Days of Future Past and the First Class.
The last one I saw was that first Wolverine one. That was the last one I saw.
That one was really bad. Like,
yeah, that one was bad, and I haven't seen any of them since.
You need to see the final one, and then you know what? X-Men First Class was pretty good.
That one was good. So was Days of Future Past.
I forgot about First Class. I did see First Class.
Yeah,
First Class and Days of Future Past are the two you really need to see. The rest of them you can actually probably ignore.
Yeah,
I like the original trilogy. I really liked it.
It was so bad. It was just like at what point? Sorry for this.
I love the X-Men. I love the X-Men. So
yeah, I know. But at what point they just like randomly kill off Professor X in the beginning of 3? Sorry for the spoilers, everyone. Professor X dies in the beginning of X-Men 3. It's been like 10 years.
I know.
I don't know. Marvel hasn't held my attention for a long time. Speaking of Marvel,
I wonder has been really good.
I wonder when our next good Marvel game is going to be. Probably never.
Yeah.
I thought
what were you talking about? You didn't like the Marvel Heroes Online?
Oh, the Marvel Heroes on PC? That was okay.
No, it's
don't even joke,
bad.
man. My childhood.
So bad.
My childhood.
I didn't think it was that bad. It just reminded me of Diablo with Marvel characters.
No. It's an MMO or MOBA. Right. Sorry, it's like a MOBA, a very bland, featureless MOBA that's featuring heroes.
I'm thinking of the MMO.
Or maybe it was an MMO. Maybe I'm confusing it with the DC MOBA. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, the DC
I think you're
was
mixed
awful.
up.
I don't know. To have a successful MOBA,
MMO or action RPG.
To have a successful MOBA, you either need to have a game that has enough depth and complexity to keep players interested and continually learning, or you need to have such an amazing marketing department that you just brainwash everyone who plays your game.
Right. I think what they tried to do was think, oh, well, we're DC. Let's pull in the DC fanboys and see if they'll play it.
Yeah. And now they're realizing that doesn't work, which is why they're going back and kind of reimagining a lot of DC stuff and coming back with it.
Yeah, they're looking at Marvel's success and they're like, damn, we need to get on that. But I think like I'm not even a huge fan of MMOs, but I was gonna say that it feels like right now it's similar to how shooters that were trying to compete with Call of Duty, like League of Legends is basically Call of Duty for MOBAs. Like it is the top dog. You aren't going to like take over its spot. So I feel like if the MOBA wants to succeed in this current market with how competitive it is right now, it needs to do something different. Like you just you need to just you need to do something very different. From,
well, you need to have, in my opinion, you need to have one of and or combination of like Travis said, a good marketing department.
Yeah.
Like what Blizzard has. a strong amount of lore that may interest fans or have fans, i.e. Heroes of the Storm is pretty much using all these characters from their other games.
Heroes of the Storm, it's also simplifying a lot of the more complex kind of stuff. Like
that's actually what I like about it. Is that Heroes is a lot more team-based.
And it's a lot more lower barrier of entry, and it's more objective focused, which tends to actually make the crowd a little bit more positive of I've noticed.
It's more noob-friendly. Like, League
that's why I like it.
League, if you try to get into it, and you're new, it is
League and Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike's really toxic too.
Yep.
Yeah. And then like stuff like the item shop in League, it's just, I look at League of Legends, I just couldn't get into it. But I look at like Heroes of the Storm is just so much more friendly to newer players. And it feels like they've simplified a lot of the stuff that was like really obtuse for no reason in like League.
They like oversimplified it in Heroes. Like
Travis is laughing.
I play Heroes really. I play MOBAs extremely casual.
Travis is just like, you guys are a bunch of scrubs. You can't hang.
He's a Dota guy.
You know me, I'm a resident Dota fan, right?
Yeah.
He's a Dota guy. But
I appreciate the thing
very
is
casually.
The thing is I appreciate the depth of League and Dota simply because I think that I stand on ceremony with saying I prefer complexity and depth over lack thereof.
I just think like it's not like Heroes is lack.
I
think there's a balance between the two, and I think like Dota's, I'll say right now, Dota's, I think, far superior to League. Like, if I had to choose between those two, like, League can
because you can play all the heroes anytime you want.
Dota's way better.
Just from a marketing or a monetization model standpoint, right? So
I think there's a place though for Blizzard's approach, because it's like comparing Hearthstone and Magic. It's like you look at Magic, it's like no one's going to deny that Magic probably has more depth. Like, there's more going on in Magic, but like there is the casual audience that wants to get into something a little bit easier.
I'm not one. Like, and even I felt like Heroes was too easy, and I played MOBAs extremely casually.
Well, something not even just going into like the difficulty of a game or the barrier to entry in terms of that, but something that I feel is not talked very much about is the actual economic model for Dota. Like, it is so off the wall to have literally every single gameplay component available for free at the beginning of right after you download the game.
Yeah.
Praise Gaben.
That's because where their money's made is largely through endorsements, but B, more importantly, the sale of like skins and stuff. Which
I don't know if you guys knew about this, but they just released a Rick and Morty announcer pack for Dota 2.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't know who Rick and Morty are.
It's a cartoon show where it's essentially it's kind of a satire on Back to the Future. Morty is Marty McFly and Rick is Doc Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they time travel to random places. It's comedy, but they have very signature voices.
More.
Yeah.
Oh man, it is storming outside. I'm sorry, I just looked out my window. It was all sunny a minute ago.
We almost got Snoop Dogg to make one.
Oh God, that would be cool.
Well, he already made calls for Call of Duty, so why not do another game?
Like how'd that work? Yo,
he said he was up for it.
It just seems like you would talk so slow to relay the information effectively. But yeah, in any case, so Travis, so I imagine you've been playing some Dota recently here.
I haven't been playing too many video games lately. Just I got back from the international, and I've been kind of taking a break, getting my work schedule back together, washing clothes, all that sorts of thing.
Yeah. So
you mean being normal?
Yeah. So how was that international?
It was probably one of the most significant events I've ever been to. The most significant event I've ever been to.
So what was it like, not for us that watched it streaming, obviously we get a very, very canned view of what's going on. So how was it like for being in the audience? I mean, did you guys like start a mosh pit? Did you chuck drinks at the little glass boxes of the opponent players?
Well, I mean, no, it was a bunch of like sweaty nerds, right? So they brought Deadmau5 out, and everybody was just standing there.
Oh, good God, yeah. He had to have hated that. Like, well, I know he's a Dota fan though, isn't he?
Yeah. The thing was, it's like, imagine being a sports fan of a sport that nobody cares about, nobody around you cares about, nobody knows about, they don't understand it, and then going to a game with thousands of other fans of that sport and being able to be there in person and enjoy and cheer for the teams. It's an extremely significant, it's such a different experience.
Can we talk about how the Rise... well, you know what? No, go ahead and finish what you were saying.
I feel like the narrative this year was very good. Unfortunately, the team I was rooting for dropped out very, very early on. But, you know, I ended up rooting for Team America in the end. And ended up winning Evil Geniuses with the 16-year-old kid from Pakistan that has made more money than I will probably make in the next 20 years of my life.
$6 million in prizes.
Yes, and he won the last largest tournament too, which was in Asia. So he's made quite a lot of money.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk a little bit later about you know, the kind of, I guess, you know, being together though, what you were saying about like being around a lot of people who don't understand your passion for a game, and essentially you know, being together with a bunch of people, randomly coming together with a bunch of people that are fans. We're going to talk a little bit on that topic of people not understanding, but yeah.
I mean, that's even beyond games though. Like, that goes toward anything. Like, to keep it a gaming, we could talk PC gaming. You know, if you talk that with console guys, they don't understand it. They think you're crazy for spending that much on a PC most of the time.
Well, the thing is that, here's the thing though, is that there's certain talk amongst just gamers in general that, like, you know, you'll run into, like, where you're talking to someone in gaming and you're like, oh yeah, I play X game, and they're like, oh yeah, like you say, oh, I'm a big Dota fan. Oh yeah, well, I have a console and I play Smite, or I play, you know, whatever. And they're like, oh, okay, you know, I can't get into Smite myself. I like Dota, blah blah blah. Or in Travis's case, is there other MOBAs? What's League of Legends? What's Smite? I don't understand this.
that was my experience though. Was I started with League of Legends, testing out Smite. I started on League of Legends, testing out Smite temporarily, and testing out what was that other one that failed? I can't remember the name of it.
There's been a bunch of
them. A lot of them.
Yeah, there's been a ton.
That one that didn't last past beta, but
there's been so many.
And then I noticed Dota, and I was I got so frustrated from the new player experience of League, which was supposed to be so easy to get into. I was frustrated with the new player experience and just how much the economic model that Riot has set up really, really hinders their ability to balance and create new content for their game.
Yep.
So then I looked at Dota. I noticed I could actually run it on my toaster. I tried it out, and I just had nothing but options. Just a game that it's like the Tesla. It just says yes, everything you want. It's just like yes, you can do this.
Honestly, I think the only reason League sits as like the top one is because it's already existing in the top slot. I think what happens is the average person who hears about MOBAs and wants to get into the more casual person, immediately they hear about League and it's like, I'm going to go play League now. And then they start playing League, and then a lot of them, after they've started playing League and getting used to it, they suddenly figure out that, hey, there's this other game called Dota over there. It's like, yeah, but I already know how to play League. I already know the characters. I don't want to switch.
That's a lot of games. Yeah, well, the thing is, especially with MOBAs, you really have to focus. Like, if you want to be a competitive player in Dota and League and Heroes and, you know, Smite, whatever, you have to really focus and learn the systems really well, learn the team matchups, know the opponents you're going against, you know, that sort of thing. Right. There's a lot of strategy to the game, so it's something I love. I just don't have the time to dedicate to it, unfortunately. But that's essentially what's the real draw of it. The downside is once you finally decide one, once you lock onto one, you have to, it's almost like you now have no choice. If you really want to be competitive with one of those games, pretty much every other game takes a far back burner because it takes so much focus to keep competitive because they're always changing, updating, adding new stuff.
Isn't that every game though? Like, you see Battlefield guys that only play Battlefield, Call of Duty guys, but those Counter-Strike guys do it too.
Not really, Kev, because there was
a competitive level.
Yeah, there's a competitive player. His name is Owie2000. He was on the team that won the International 2000 or the International 5. He did a video on YouTube talking about the pub player mentality, the public game player mentality,
the pug.
And he went through how much time it takes to not get good at Dota, just to learn Dota. He suggested going through and learning how to just do the very, very most basic thing with one hero and learn all of that, but then after you're done with that, go through one at a time and play and win at least once on every single hero. And there's like 120 characters, something crazy like that now.
Mm-hmm.
But the time it would take to do all that is between 150 and 200 hours base.
Yeah.
And you're not even good. You are still terrible at the game at that point. That is so much investment to make.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a lot of games. Like if you I was watching Level Cap. I like Level Cap, Battlefield guy, and he kind of says the same thing. Like if you sit with Battlefield, pick a character, or pick a class, pick a gun, and learn that gun inside and out, and get good with it, and then move on to the next.
I can never do that.
Yeah,
I don't do it either.
Friday's the only
well, this is one thing I'll say, because I was involved with, actually on a professional level playing Halo 2. And this is one thing I can say is that yes, shooters do require a bit of dedication. You have to practice to keep your skills sharp. But the pure fact just is that shooters in general are more reactionary based. You just have to have good reflexes most of the time. Now, there is a certain degree of learning maps, learning routes on maps, that sort of thing, knowing your team, knowing how they operate. But when you talk about just the game itself, pretty much all you have to know is the maps. The guns largely, if you take one SMG, it's largely going to be about the same. Usually there's going to be one SMG that's the best one to use. There's going to be one assault rifle that's usually the best to use. That sort of thing. And once you get that down, once you learn the kind of meta and then learn the map, that's it. Whereas Dota or League of Legends, either one, each character fundamentally is different. Each character team setup is fundamentally different. You have to learn concepts like, being an AD carry, support, those sort of things. Those are so complex in the way they operate. It's while they both require dedication, I can personally attest that shooters require tons less dedication to be competitive on a professional level than those guys do in Dota. I didn't have to move to somebody's house and live in a place to practice shooters 24 hours a day.
There was also it was the same thing. I was going to say it's the same type of setup where a lot of the RTS is take, for example, the StarCraft 2 competitive scene.
Oh God, yeah.
Before MOBAs, it was the same. I also wanted to bring up how has anyone realized that the MOBA scene, the rising popularity of MOBAs is killing the StarCraft 2 competitive scene?
I mean, in Korea.
No, everywhere. It's there's less tournaments. I'm not crazy about StarCraft's 2 competitive scene, but I've always paid some attention to it. I've watched the championship.
Well, StarCraft 2 scene has been dead outside of Korea for a long time now.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, over time, though, I've seen less and less competitions. Seems like there's less sponsors for them to draw from.
Yep. But you know,
but I was gonna say there's the same kind of dedication there. Like it took people a lot of time and a lot of dedication to get good at StarCraft 2 to like the competitive levels.
Yep. But let's go ahead and get moved on here. So so Kev, what have you been playing today?
God of War 3. I've been playing the remaster on PS4. I tried a little Far Cry 4 this week too.
Was God of War 3 the one with the sound issues?
Yeah, that was the one. Actually, I learned that had something to do with my capture card. When I unplugged the capture card, all my sound came back.
Interesting.
Kev, I don't even want to see how you would have reacted to the Silent Hill HD collection, because now that was a horrible remaster.
Oh God.
Well, there's a reason I don't play Silent Hill. Resident Evil for life.
Wait, so isn't that Silent Hill game? Wasn't that made by this one company?
Oh boy.
I'm trying.
Hopefully, it's not the same people that fucked up Batman.
Well, no. What was the name of the company that made Silent Hill? Starts with a K.
Oh yeah, those fuck boys. Yeah, fuck Konami.
Yeah. Well, we'll come back to that in just a moment. But first, Joe, how's that Warframe been?
I mean, I've just been building stuff and ranking up mods, and it's been pretty great.
Minecraft.
Chroma's tons of fun. I've built a giant, basically Spartan laser in the game. You know, a charged up laser. I have it spec'd so it punches through enemies.
Just cut down everything.
Yeah, just like you fire into like a line of enemies and just gone. It's just yeah. I've been playing that, and then I've been playing now also Shadowrun Hong Kong, and I finally recruited the character for my team, who is a samurai ghoul.
Nice.
I always fun Shadowrun. I almost picked it up last night. And
like I've been playing too much Warframe, so I haven't been playing too much of it. But I mean, it's something where it's like if you enjoyed Shadowrun like Returns and Dragonfall, it's basically just more like it's the same formula where like Dragonfall was a much more polished and much more improved version of Returns.
Yeah.
Well, Hong Kong is they basically took Dragonfall and just like improved every aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then just there you go. Like it's just a straight up improvement over Dragonfall with a different story.
Which is awesome.
You know, they improved the mechanics of the Matrix is a lot more interesting now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more. There's actually stealth mechanics inside the Matrix.
That's pretty
for
cool.
Avoiding detection, which is really cool. There's more magic system. They've improved some of like the implant system and the augmentation system. There's even more detail. Like every character now has like backstory. Like it is crazy the amount of reading. Like Shadowrun has always been a pretty reading heavy game, but I mean Hong Kong takes it to another level. Like you better be prepared for just like story out the ass. Like everyone's got a story in Hong Kong.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty great.
But you know, and I haven't had a chance to even look at much new games because it's pretty much right now I've been, you know, between trying to push out new content
We're all waiting
for Warframe.
for Fallout 4.
It's not just that.
Mass Effect. Like they just put out the Dragon Age Inquisition DLC deal. They showed the final DLC. I'm like, good. Now we get to focus on God Effect and Andromeda.
Can we all agree? Best line in a trailer ever. Can't one thing in this fucking world stay fixed?
Oh yeah, I want to play it though. I do want to play it. I didn't finish Jaws of Hacking. I didn't really like it, and I wanted to do the one with the Deep Roads. I want to play that one, but I heard it was really bad. But I want to know what happens with Solus.
Yeah, because
we saw the ending. Everybody's finished.
I heard you had questions.
Yes,
like, yeah, so just a few.
To know how that ends with that storyline.
Yep.
I just hope
no spoilers.
They realize how bad of a villain Corey Fish was, and realize that they need to make a villain who's actually threatening.
Yeah. Whereas, in all honesty, you know what I would love? I would love Solus to be a villain. I would love it.
He's actually interesting. It's like
because he's got there's so much depth and complexity there. Yeah, that he was your friend for so long. That would be a brilliant villain.
Plymouth would have been a great villain for one game where the game actually focused on her being the villain.
Yeah,
I loved the Archdemon and the dragon from Dragon Age Origins. I loved it. I loved that as a villain. Like we were just fighting
It was more of a force of nature. What I think I liked more in Dragon Age Origins is I loved Loghain. Loghain,
Loghain was a great.
There's a lot of complexity there.
Origins was just had the best story of the three.
Yeah,
But I think gameplay wise, I love Inquisition. I love it.
Inquisition.
Well, to a certain degree, I think that there's a certain amount of consolization, as I call it, to that game. Which
I think don't get me wrong, better than Dragon Age 2.
Like, yes,
yeah, but let's face it, Origins handled like shit on console.
You know, I think the next villain in Dragon Age should be called Darkspawn or Barkspawn.
Barkspawn, and it's a Mabari. It's a Mabari Darkspawn, and it just barks at you and you die. Yes, one. Game over.
Honestly, I want them to bring back and take a look at the Architect, because you had the choice to let him go at the end of Awakenings, and he was so interesting. Like the idea of like, it's been years since it came out.
Still a spoiler.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But it's not that big a spoiler. Like, I didn't explain the story. I just said you have a choice at the end. You can let him go. But it was like, I love the dynamic of it's like the Darkspawn are more than just, you know, this evil force of nature. Like, they have more going for them.
Yeah,
well, it was all invariably linked to the Grey Wardens. That was the big thing.
I'm just wondering, are they going to do something with the Architect? Because I really want them to. I really want them to do something.
It's really interesting when your enemy is not just mindless.
You know what, though? I think I will bring up Architect is a good example of, I'm going to bring up a subject where I've found Inquisition. Like, I've seen on the forums they've talked about it, and it's allowed me time like to think about my views of it. I feel like Dragon Age is a game that's actually suffered from the level of choice that BioWare has given you.
Yeah.
I feel like the main storyline and the actual like narrative has suffered because of the weight of holding up all the player choices and consequences. Like, take for example though, like Dragon Age Origins, you had the possibility to have Liliana killed. Like, if you defiled this Urn of Sacred Ashes, you could just kill her, and she'd be dead. Inquisition, she comes back, and if you, like, I haven't actually done it myself because I never killed her, but if you ask her about it, she just straight out is like, the Maker brought me back to life, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I killed her.
What?
I did, because I hardened her, because...
It's just
reasons.
Yeah, and it feels like there's so many things in like Dragon Age over time that it's like, well, take for example the Architect. Like, I want them to bring him back, but because you have the choice of killing him or not, you suddenly have a situation of like they can only do so much.
Yeah,
because otherwise they have to retcon people's decisions, and I feel like that limits them.
I personally feel like in RPGs we've kind of strayed to a point where like choice became a really big factor for people, but we haven't reached the technological ability yet to be able to give people the choice level that say a tabletop game would be able to allow you, right?
Well,
so I think it kind of gets away from the original advantage of a video game RPG, which is being able to visually represent things and give a set storyline visually and with audio and very well, something you can perceive with your senses that isn't just in your mind.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
With like tabletop, I think there's an advantage there where like RPGs in the gaming sense can have like, if you want to focus on choice and dialogue really heavily, or like choice and consequence, I think a standalone game is better. Like a tabletop game, when you go into like a role-playing game, it's like you have the campaign itself, and you don't have to worry about like continuing the story. So choice and consequence can be much stronger there. Same thing with games. It's like a standalone RPG that's on its own and doesn't have a bunch of sequels waiting for it. Works better. Like if Origins had just been standalone, they could have had so many more like choice and consequence things, because it's like you don't have to worry about diverging story paths. But each sequel they made shoehorned it more and more and kept tying their hands more and more of what they can do, because there's so many diverging storylines starting to pop up. It's like, if they want to do it, like if people want choice and consequence, I think they have to be ready to accept that it's better in a standalone game. Like if you want a bunch of sequels for a game, you need to accept that the main narrative can't change too much, because all you're doing is weakening it.
Kind of. I think if you're going to do it, I think Mass Effect did it a little better, even though they screwed up in 3. You have to plan for that ahead of time.
What were you saying, Morty? I said that they really only the only real major mistake in Mass Effect was the actual ending itself. The last, like, you know, I don't know, 15
in the dark
minutes.
Dark magic thing or whatever.
Yeah, they kind of veered off course on the story in general.
Again, my biggest thing with Mass Effect 3 is I'm convinced that it was just rushed. Like, the storyline in general, it needed like another year of development, I think.
I don't know. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's get to our actual stories now. And Joe, I'm gonna start muting you if you go over 10 minutes. I'm just kidding. But
did we talk about Konami and Metal Gear?
Yes, we're gonna talk about Metal Gear Solid 5. That is more or less guaranteeing that they've won the Game of the Year. And you know what's funny about this is I think they're serious because let's just throw this out there.
They probably are going to win.
It's very conspicuous that a bunch of games media went to a very private, closed door, media event where they were supervised by Konami while playing Metal Gear Solid 5, and mysteriously all came out giving it 10s.
Like, unlimited in my experience with this, because again, we don't. I don't do reviews. I don't get review copies. But like, I've seen other like YouTubers and people who actually do like games media and games critique talk about these review events, and they say like, when you're there, no matter how much you try, there's going to be a certain bias, because it's like the best place to do video game reviews and to do critique is in a comfortable setting.
Yep, exactly. At your own pace.
Your own pace.
Yep.
Here you are suddenly, like, I remember I heard what was on something, they were talking about how that the event, the problem is that you were sitting there inside of Konami's thing and you only had, I think it was like a few hours to rush through as much of the game as possible. Like
30 hours.
30 hours.
You just had to rush through it. Like, it just is such
giving you cheat
like,
codes.
review events are horrible. Like, review events can go die in a fire somewhere. Right?
I really feel like it really shows something about your company, and it shows something about your confidence in your product. If you cannot create an open environment where you just bring people in, let them play the game, and then go
no, not even that. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stand firm on this one. Pretty much everybody else in the fucking gaming publishing universe sends out review copies of their games that are very heavily narratively driven, mind you. They'll send out review copies to games media guys, and then they send along with it a sheet of fucking paper that says, hey, sign here, please don't reveal any spoilers in your review.
Well, I'm talking like simple. An open event,
it's just
like
embargo,
where you can just like walk up and you can play, and then you can go home and write about it. Rather
to
than
a point, embargoes can be abused.
Well, the thing, but as what Travis is saying, I get what you're saying. Like especially a teaser event, or like say an E3 or whatever, having a nice open forum to get people hyped about the game. But I'm actually specifically talking about a press event where you're inviting the people who are reviewing your game to a closed door private event. That to me is wrong. That's where I'm like, hey, Jim Sterling came up with this brilliant hashtag on Twitter that you all should hop on. Yeah, hashtag FUCKKONAMI. Fuck Konami.
I guess you can call it wrong, but it's also kind of like, it's kind of foolish, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like anybody with any sort of brain power can understand that it's just not. Honestly, it's not Konami, honest. It's not unbiased.
Like, Konami doesn't know how to business.
Yes, they don't.
We've been in business.
I don't know what they're doing. Like with the whole thing, what happened with Silent Hills, it's like, Konami, you literally had people like with their wallets just waiting for you. Like, they were bent over the desk ready for you. The moment you put out like PT, and Konami was just like, nope. Just
and then the whole
they just said, take my bottle caps.
Yeah, in the Kojima Gate, right?
Like, I don't know what.
Was that really a thing? I think I missed that.
Oh gosh, yes.
Look up. Konami executives, have they all become like incompetent? Have they been replaced with chimps overnight?
No, I'm pretty certain that Konami's the source of all evil on the planet.
Thank God, because EA and Ubisoft were running right up that ladder too.
No, here's, like I said, as I made the comparison to you guys before, this tells everything about Konami. If you compare Ubisoft and EA, who are seen as being kind of evil corporate giants, when you compare them to Konami Konami makes those two guys
honestly
look like CD Projekt Red.
I think they're all in the same boat, but what I think here is EA and Ubisoft and Activision, they have enough tact to not be completely dumb with it, but
they don't treat their employees like slaves.
The thing with Konami was they had amazing people. They've over the years they've had amazing people that have worked for them, but I feel like sometimes the people in the upper echelons of the company, they just wake up on the wrong side of the bed and they think to themselves, "I'm gonna go and mess everything up today."
Like they seem like the stereotypical
my plan every day
businessmen who are afraid of any type of innovation, and so go like fighting tooth and nail to hold on to every bit of dinosaur like business model.
Yeah,
they try to hold on to every old like way. They don't want to change at all.
And in that respect, I don't think Ubisoft is that bad. That's why I was trying to make that point a minute ago. Me and Joe started talking at the same time. Ubisoft is only bad when in my opinion, when you play on PC.
Yeah,
that's when you start having the problem. If you play on console, you and Ubisoft
microtransactions and Assassin's Creed.
Well,
but those aren't mandatory.
It's still no.
Ubisoft they don't add shit, so they don't. I think it sucks when they're in a $60 game, but they don't really add anything. So
to be completely fair to Konami, though,
fuck Konami.
To be completely fair to Konami,
they don't get fair.
It is different in Japan. In Japan, at a corporate,
there's plenty of Japanese companies though that. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, but there's a lot of Japanese companies that, even though they innovate, there's still something on a cultural level to where they're very averse to change. It's not even on a personal level; it's actually at a cultural level.
I will say though,
change is very
that does make sense. That's why we get like 4 versions of every Street Fighter game. That hasn't really changed since the 90s.
Like, Konami's worse than most. Like, From Software doesn't do this. Like, Nintendo doesn't do as... bad.
If you play Dark Souls, you play Bloodborne. Come on now.
No. Here's the thing, is that whenever it leaked about how they treat their employees like essentially like slaves, you can't get fired from Konami. You can't get fired from there. No, if you wear out your welcome there, they send you to the pachinko factory. Or they send you go scrub toilets.
They routinely change their employees' emails.
Yeah.
So that it's harder for
recruiters to get a hold of them.
To find them.
And the thing is in Japan,
sneaky shit.
They're in Japan, there is a lot of loyalty. Like, an employee, it has a certain loyalty to their company that in America and in Europe we don't quite understand.
I think it's more of, it's not necessarily
Americans understand brand loyalty.
I think they understand. A lot of Americans understand. They just don't care, or they.
What I think it is with Japan is it's not always necessarily loyalty in that sense. It's more of the
honor,
thought.
I guess. Yeah.
It's a thought.
I think it really is though.
It's perseverance. Maybe. It's perseverance through like. It's thought of that, oh, you're unhappy at the company you're at. It's like, well, you know what? It's your duty to persevere.
Yes, it's duty and honor, and it's dishonorable
it's your duty
to work
put up with it. You need to just put up with it until things get better. Like, it's expected that you will...
But
in Japan, it's expected that you will stay past when you are scheduled to.
Yes,
it is expected.
You'll work for the good of the company.
But
if the company's suffering, it's your responsibility to make sure the company.
But given that there's a cultural duty, and it's considered dishonorable to be, disfavorable to the company you work for, that sort of thing. Given that cultural duty and honor, the fact that Konami goes to such lengths to prevent their employees from leaving, and prevent their employees from pretty much being able to say anything, like free speech is not allowed there, tells me that they are worlds worse than anybody else, any other company there, because any other company there doesn't need to do that. Culturally, Japanese people tend to not be outspoken against the company they work for. Now there are some, but I'm saying a large majority of Japanese employees are not going to speak out against their company. It's considered dishonorable, at least in their mind. So the fact that Konami has to do this, has to implement these methods, that's saying something.
It shows to me like a lack of confidence, and like I said, I don't understand Japanese culture, so I could be completely off base.
And there's plenty of Japanese companies that aren't as bad as Konami, so I think
it's more of too much confidence than a lack of confidence, right?
Yeah,
I don't know, because if you're not confident in your company, then why do you have to put in things like things to trap your employees there? You're afraid of them leaving.
Yep, exactly. But let's we've hashed that out before. But for anybody worrying,
before we go, fuck Konami.
Yeah, hashtag fuck Konami. Everybody should tweet that out. Let's get that moving. Jim Sterling came up with the idea. I think it's brilliant. They really need to kind of be shown that they should probably do things a little bit more honestly. But anyway, let's get to something a little bit more gray and not so easily stamped on. So YouTube launched the YouTube gaming platform this week in an attempt to compete with Twitch more seriously. And it's essentially having more dedicated venue for streaming games and gaming video.
Hey,
something I can more speak on a better level.
Yeah, well,
the thing is, competition's good. Like, no matter if you like have no plans to use it. Like, I'm sitting here like I'm just going to continue using Twitch, but it's like more competition means more incentive for Twitch to improve some of its functions.
Yes and no. Thing is,
okay, continue, Morty.
Well, I was going to say, I'm going to get your opinion on this here in just a second, Travis. So you're a Twitch streamer, I'm assuming, quite a bit there, right?
I don't stream, but I watch a lot, and I'm planning on streaming once I build my rig.
Okay, so let me throw this out there for you, since you have a lot of experience in the environment on there. Have you actually read up on the essentially the copyright, the content ID that Twitch uses?
I haven't read up on what Twitch uses. I know that it's pretty much, as far as I know, it's nothing like they're not going to stop or ban your stream if you have copyrighted content going up during the stream. They will mess with the VODs in terms of audio and maybe sometimes video.
Yep.
But as far as like during the stream, they won't
exactly. But guess who does not understand
Google. Well, Google's always had that problem, though.
Yeah, so Google essentially and YouTube, I guess. YouTube kind of handles their own business. Google, owns YouTube, but they don't micromanage. YouTube does their own thing, so it's not really Google's decision here. But essentially what they do is they reserve the right to mute your stream or potentially disconnect your stream. In other words, cut off the video as well. If Content ID detects copyrighted material. And whereas Twitch is like, no, you can stream whatever, but the moment that you get to the VODs, the video on demands that are, the recorded stuff afterwards, that's where it actually, they'll cut off the audio.
Right.
And not only that, this is also not just a venue for streaming, it's also a venue for videos as well. And I don't know if you guys have messed with the UI at all. I had a problem finding even some well-established channels, much less anybody smaller. This is anybody who lives on YouTube gaming. Guess what? It's just going to kill their viewership to smaller YouTube channels.
I feel like YouTube is going to have to pay out a lot of money to a lot of people to bring popular streamers over to YouTube and bring their user base over to
I don't think they're going to do that. I think what's going to happen is the bigger YouTubers that already use Twitch, a lot of them are going to probably start using YouTube gaming.
I don't think so.
Get it right. If they can get it right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe if they are primarily YouTube, but they do some streaming on the side.
Well, no, here's where I'm actually going to say no, because a lot of the big YouTube channels, like if you look at a lot of them and you listen to what they say, like especially right now, the actual ad CPMs on YouTube are down currently. They're actually lower value, so you're getting more or less value out of your views on YouTube. And you know how they equate for that? They go to Twitch where they get a different level of ad volume and a different cost form.
Then they put their Twitch VODs on YouTube.
Exactly.
It's a double dip.
Yeah, so it's a double dip. And you know what?
A lot of streamers do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think about that because it's so easy. It's option in there.
Well, just to give you an option, Trump with Hearthstone, I watch his streams occasionally, and he has his own editor, who will go and take the recordings from like Twitch, recording the gameplay from Twitch, and then we'll edit it and post it up to YouTube.
Yep. exactly.
I mean, I feel like one of the largest problems here is going to be the copyright.
Which,
that's
like,
something we could have an entire long conversation
let's
on.
just say this, like,
hours,
no matter what with these companies, like, copyright law in the U.S. needs to be reformed anyway. Like,
yeah, it has,
but let's not open that bag of cats, because that's gonna end up. Yeah, that's gonna be derail into a big thing. Let's just say this.
Let's just say copyright law right now is outdated.
Yeah, and YouTube gaming, unless they change that streaming policy to match Twitch, they're going to find that a lot of people will have a bad taste in their mouth. Because if you watch any big Twitch streamer, usually they'll have the gameplay audio muted, but they will actually have, like, typically copyrighted music playing in the background. You know, like big artist top 40, that sort of thing.
I don't know about you guys, but music request streams are so much fun. I love DJing for streamers.
Yeah, and it's actually, and that's honestly a big thing. It attracts your crowd, engages you with them. That's part of the streaming thing, is you have to engage with your audience, right? Which is something, you know, at some point in the future, you know, a little spoiler alert here, the Pixel Crashers podcast is going to eventually go live once, you know, if we can build up the audience for it, because we want that engagement. And you have to, like, and if you're muting your footage, if your stream gets cut off because Content ID, which is notoriously bad at grabbing things that are not.
If your stream's constantly getting muted, like, people are just going to go to Twitch. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Let's be honest, Google's already going to have an uphill battle fighting to get in on Twitch's, like, Twitch is so firmly established that YouTube is going to have to really work to get their foot in there. Like, they need to really...
Personally, I just want some software that allows me to simulcast to all three at once, but I really don't have the internet connection for that anyway.
But yeah, like,
just
move to Iowa and contact Google, although I'm not sure how much they'd approve of this.
Now, I will say one area YouTube can do all right is, again, where you were saying primarily YouTubers, if they can get the streaming stuff down correctly and it's, you know, doesn't have any real big disadvantages over Twitch. One thing that could help is if they make it really easy to, like, take your stream and then upload it into YouTube, since you're streaming on YouTube anyway. Like, if they implement a system like that, I can see...
Oh, no, it actually... They already have it where essentially when you stream something, it automatically puts it in your video list as public. So it's automatically in there.
See, now that's something that I could see.
And for as an entry market, since there's not a lot of people streaming on YouTube, it does actually make it pretty easy to be near the top of the list, because, you know, you go and click on a game, hey, look, there's only like 2 people streaming, and hey, I'm one of them. So for entry level streaming, it does help a lot. Just be very cautious on that Content ID, because
as a thing, no, YouTubing in general is very difficult as an entry level thing, just due to the amount of work it takes to make quality content for YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that all too well.
And I was gonna make another point. I forgot my point. Never mind.
Well, let's just go ahead and move on then. So then good old Cliffy B at PAX Prime. Oh gosh, LawBreakers was announced, and it actually looks pretty amazing.
It looks freaking awesome.
I actually need to go watch something about that now.
Yeah,
it reminds me a little bit of Overwatch.
Yeah, a little bit of Overwatch. It's an arena shooter. Definitely looks smooth, and it actually looks really pretty. And I can't remember what... Kev, do you remember what consoles this was, or platforms this was announced for? Was it only PC?
Yep.
Okay. Which I'm good with, because PC needs some competition to all the big stuff coming out for consoles.
Well, I don't even think it's that. Like, PC gets a good amount of, like, exclusive content, but the problem is it doesn't get the push. Like, if you start talking to console gamers, like, I heard about this game from console-only gamers, like, oh, I want this on PS4, I want this on Xbox.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only on PC. But when you talk to them, say about something like Skyforge, they don't know what Skyforge is. Shadowrun Hong Kong. Yeah. Well, that's the other one too. You know, they say we don't know, we don't care. Hell, I had a console guy the other day even tell me when we were playing the Call of Duty beta on PS4, and we were playing Demolition, and he said, and I was telling him it was like CS:GO. He's like, "What's CS:GO?" You know, he's a console guy. He's never played it. So I mean, it's those games like if you tell him, "Oh, it's Counter-Strike," like, "Oh, okay, I didn't play Counter-Strike," and then you realize that it's the same thing. It needs that push.
Yeah, I think that's where PC has some advantage there. It's PC, I think, has a bigger access to and a bigger market for niche kind of audiences.
Yeah,
I think it's the most accessible. It's the most accessible platform. People will actually give it the opportunity.
The thing is,
oh, you need $1,000 rig. No, you can play Counter-Strike on the bullshit laptop you have sitting under your bed.
The problem PC gaming has is that it's kind of like the problem Dota has with League of Legends. There's such a long-standing propaganda against, or not even just like propaganda, but general, like both propaganda and general misconceptions of people for PC gaming and Dota, that it's just like set in the consciousness of people, so they don't understand that you can build a very simple PC rig very quickly, very easily, that you can upgrade, inexpensively, that you can upgrade and never have to buy an entire rig again, and have it be your central entertainment hub.
Yep, that's what I basically do with my PC. But I mean, even then, like, you can show them the facts. Like, there's a channel on YouTube, Germ Gaming. They do this series called Potato Masher, where they built a $350 PC, and they want to see if it can last with the big AAA titles coming out on console, and can it outperform them. Yeah. I show these videos every so often to console gamers, and they tell me I'm just lying. So there's that propaganda too. Like, I showed them GTA 5 on this $350 PC that did 1080p 60 just fine, at good settings. Hell, if you can play 1440 and 4K, and they were like, "You're lying." No, it doesn't. I'm like, "Here's the video." They're lying. It's fake. So
unfortunately for us, there's a lot of people in your generation that have had bad experiences in the past with PC gaming, and then they switch.
Let me say my generation. I'm so old.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, mate.
I'm in my early 30s.
Yeah, you're ancient in the technology world.
But then again, you guys gotta understand, I'm a youngin', so I'm
I
just
don't know how old you are, dude. So
he's somehow even younger than I am.
Oh,
dude,
shit.
I'm 20, so yeah.
Okay, that makes sense then. You didn't like, my generation was that first generation that grew up really learning about computers. You guys actually grew up with them.
Yeah, I grew up with, PC and games right in there.
The thing was, like, what I was getting at was, I talked to this guy at work that's older than me, but like 30s-ish. And he was talking to me why he plays consoles, and I was asking him, like, because he seemed pretty intelligent and pretty interested in technology and stuff. And yet he was really hesitant to go to PC gaming, because he told me he had bad experiences in the past with PC gaming, with things not working, things not being compatible, all that sort of thing, which I understand was an issue before.
In 2002.
PC gaming was not cost efficient, it was not simple, it was confusing, there were...
In 2002.
Yeah, in 2002. But people's memories are extraordinarily strong, and they last a long time.
Well, even going back farther than that, even going back into the 90s. And when you look at the 90s, like, some of the console quality games were... if you looked at console versus PC games, honestly, a lot of the gaming on consoles were just hands down better, because it was focused. Like, not a lot of people owned PCs, so the market was smaller, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Right, console started off as a cheap alternative to buying a computer back when computers were actually not
as an alternative. Honestly, PC gaming was around, but it really didn't pick up until long after consoles had their foothold in there. Let's be honest, back in the 80s, nobody owned a PC, but a ton of people owned Ataris. A ton of people owned NESs.
Like $200.
Yeah, so
that was the point I was making.
Yeah, they weren't an alternative, so to speak. But on the console note, Microsoft actually quashed some rumors about an Xbox One Mini. That there was rumors floating around. I think someone leaked it and all that stuff. But
I talked to Major about this earlier. I'm like, are they trying to get into the Wii market where they already failed one?
No. And that's not what I'm meaning. Like, if you look at like the Xbox 360,
the slim model.
Yeah, they came out with the slim model. PS3 did it as well.
Every console does it. PS2 did it. PS1 did it.
Yeah. Shouldn't they? They're saying that they're really not releasing or designing one, but in my opinion, shouldn't they? Like, because the Xbox One is kind of it's a monster.
I think
I have both of them. The Xbox One is freaking huge.
Yeah.
I have both of them. Like, I look at it next to my PS4, and like when people call it like a VCR,
yeah,
it really is that big.
It's a brick. In my mind, it could use a little brother that's a slim model. Like,
look, guys, I'm right now. I'm just using my old original Xbox 360 arcade, which has yet the red ring. Thank you, God.
Screw you, because I had a red ring with the arcade.
I had the original Xbox launch model. It red ringed on me, and now I got it repaired, and it's collecting dust somewhere. I now have the slim model, and
it's nearing the end of its life cycle. Once I get the 1+2, once I get a Chromecast, I don't play games on my Xbox anymore. It will be replaced so I can just watch Twitch and YouTube and Netflix and Crunchyroll and be a happy camper without this massive thing sitting on my desk.
Yeah.
So basically, you're transitioning into PC gaming then?
I've been Master Race for a long time now. It just simply.
He's doing the Master Race. He's game racing hard.
He's on the PC, but he doesn't have an actual he doesn't actually have the PC to like.
Sometimes Master Race gets stuck with a portable toaster for a short period of time.
We understand you have a potato. Yeah. Don't worry, I'm judging you, just like I'm judging Major for 900p. You're both peasants.
This is why I keep saying that Joe's the peasant and Kev's the elitist.
I just can't be bothered to replace my monitor. I'm sitting with $100.
The problem is, though, is I have the strongest PC here, and Joe's a bigger elitist than I am.
No, that's the joke.
I know.
But let's go ahead and get on to misconceptions on this topic, and let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. Because Jimmy Kimmel made a statement that just really kind of got under my skin a little bit, where he said he can't understand why people watch other people playing video games, i.e. Twitch.
Was he meaning it to be like that, or was he legitimately like he doesn't know why people do it? Because like
he legitimately said he doesn't understand why people do it. He said, would you go to a restaurant to watch someone else eat? And I'm like, no, it's wrong.
It's just something he just doesn't like. There's a lot of people,
he doesn't understand.
People don't understand
misconception.
Like they don't.
My question is, who is Jimmy Kimmel?
He's a big TV personality, comedian, that sort of thing. And
so that's why I don't know who he is.
He drew the comparison to watching people eat, and I'm like, no. It's like I can't understand why people go and watch other people play baseball. To me, that sport is so boring.
Now, do you feel that way about sports in general, or just baseball specifically?
Different sports, different things. But baseball specifically, like I can throw around a baseball. I'm not very good at it because I never really played it a whole lot. But I can understand the appeal of wanting to play a little baseball. But watching it, hell no. It's just like golf. Golf to me, playing it, it's pretty relaxing. It's nice. You get outside, you have a few beers with your buddies, something like that. Golf is nice. But watching it, good God, is it so slow?
Yeah. It's horrible.
It's so slow to watch.
It's horrible to watch.
Yeah.
I think it has a little bit to do too. You have to be involved in the community. Like, I can't get into baseball, but I'm not a baseball person. I can watch basketball because that was the sport I played as a kid.
Well, yeah,
I was on the track team in high school. I love watching.
To me, basketball and as you guys call it, soccer. I can get down with those. Hockey, same thing, because there's constantly stuff going on, constant action.
You're in America. It's soccer.
Yeah, whatever.
Morty. I think the main reason is being able to, because you're not actually physically involved with what is going on. It's more of a mental thing.
Yeah.
And it's being able to mentally be able to mentally connect with the players and understand their train of thought and what they're going to do next. And that is what you gain enjoyment from. And I feel like gaming in general is extraordinarily, if you do it, it's extraordinarily easy, and it's almost superior in a way once you understand than traditional sports are.
Well,
because there's just so much mental, because you're just watching something, right? And it goes straight into your brain. It's so much mental stimulation, so much mental, so much thought that goes into it, and that's why you enjoy this.
Well, and that's I guess the problem I have with it is because of this misconception. I understand the concept of watching sports. You know, obviously I sat there and I'll watch different sports, but I mean, hell, even on the gaming front, you know, I was sitting there watching the international. Now, I don't normally watch competitions. Like, I'm not watching. Is ESL still going on? I can't remember if that's over now or not.
Oh man, ESL was so good last year.
Yeah, but I don't watch ESL. I watched some of I don't know, that one that was in Las Vegas for the fighting games. I watched some of that, but at the same time, you know, like, I understand the appeal of spectating, and it's nice, but at the same time, I can't understand why people can't expand their thought on it. Like,
because people are closed-minded.
Yeah, like, in
we
general,
could go on all day about that. Like, GameSpot actually did an episode of The Point today, and it was a psychology issue about basically why people are fanboys, because people are closed-minded. That's essentially what they said. And it's so true. Like, you get the same things all the time. Most people. Like, and I think this is even why, like we were talking about, getting people on a PC game. I think that's kind of the same thing. I got an Xbox because I always play Xbox. I always go to this restaurant. I like Nissan, so I always buy a Nissan. That kind of thing.
Yep.
And I think that goes back to, you know, sports, and that's why I say it's the relatability. If I play basketball as a kid, I love basketball. I watch basketball. You know, if you know, it goes to so many other things that I'm just kind of brain dead on right now. But it comes back to people are close-minded.
Yeah. Which also is actually is a nice transition into our last story of the day, which is about there's been a lot of vitriol about Destiny requiring 60 gigabytes of free space on PS4 and Xbox One for even if they don't get the Taken King DLC, you know, and then it requires 30 on the old gen consoles. And, you know, as Travis, you know, chuckled, PC gamers were like, what? Like, this concept that they get upset when a game requires, you know, more than a standard disc size, in which case the current gen consoles is Blu-ray. They can't stand when a game takes more than the disc size worth on the console, and like PC players are like, what are you talking about, man? You know, like, a lot of these games we play take up huge space, especially when you start getting into games that you can mod.
You know,
well, I think the difference is that this generation is still new. A lot of these console guys are used to streaming the game off disc because, you know, the technology just wasn't there for that.
Yeah.
These consoles are essentially really, really, I don't want to bash the consoles. They're PCs. And all intents and purposes, they are PCs. You're installing the game from a CD just like you would any piece of software, and the CD is essentially just DRM.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not surprised by this, you know, thing, especially with, you know, how huge these games are, all the extra textures and lighting and all the extra stuff, all the audio files, everything in there. Yeah, it takes a lot. They had to compromise a lot of things to make it work on PS3 and Xbox 360.
Well, it's not just that. To me, it's like you want better quality games. You want higher resolutions, you want better animations, that sort of thing. That does come at a price. I mean,
they don't understand that.
Yeah, it's you got to realize that higher textures, higher resolution textures, like, for example, you want to take out like Skyrim is a good example. Not to go back to Bethesda, we won't talk about the semantics of Skyrim, but one thing I do want to point out is in the modding, like when you get into the high resolution texture pack specifically, and you talk about like a little square texture, right? The low resolution textures versus high resolution textures have a huge impact on the space of just that texture pack.
Oh, yeah.
Huge. And when you talk about a whole game's worth of just those high resolution textures, if I can talk, it's going to be a huge difference in space. And then you talk about everything else in it too.
Yeah, to give you an example, like Fallout New Vegas, it's like you go in like the high resolution texture packs. Like if you go for the maximum resolution one and one that like applies to a lot of different textures and isn't really specified, like specific, you're talking about several gigs for the download there. And then usually once you're running these, it's a pretty big drain on your system memory just running all these high resolution textures compared to the base game. Like, I think when New Vegas, when I installed it, it's like 12 to 16 gigs around there, but like with all my mods, like my current New Vegas installation is like 40 gigs or like 30 something gigs just from mods. Like it's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's essentially the thing, is that when you're demanding higher quality of a game, it's just like with video. Hey, if I take a standard resolution video, you know, that's 15 minutes long, it's going to be this amount of space. You take the high definition, high bit rate, high resolution version, it's going to be exponentially larger.
That's to give you an example, like a 30-minute video at 360p is like 200 megabytes, but then like that same video at 1080p is like 600. It's like triple the space for it.
Or more.
Yeah.
Right, but I don't think they understand that, because, you know, a lot of console guys aren't necessarily tech guys, and I don't think we need to expect them to be tech guys.
No, they don't have to be. They just
they can't. If they want to complain, they need to understand. Like
the thing
even audio, like FLAC, like compare that to a standard MP3.
Yeah. What was that, Travis?
Well, the thing is, like I don't know. I guess I could be a bit of a Bungie hater, or a Destiny hater, despite being a Bungie fan.
Well, there's a reason why we haven't talked about Destiny a whole lot here.
I'm sitting here and I'm sitting here wondering, like, what is taking up 60 gigs? Did they just like include 50 gigs of skyboxes or something?
Well, there was the whole thing with the on this DR or on this content that, you know, they locked away.
Oh yeah, they probably have like 6 expansions that are.
Okay. I will say.
Like there's a bunch of hidden like sound dialogue and sound bites for Dinklebot. Like they just recorded tons,
which is gone now. They replaced it with NolanBot. But no, the thing is that now in respect, there was actually, I don't see there being any on disc DLC for Destiny. I actually, with respect to the unfinished parts that people found, I do agree with who was it? The one guy from Activision that was saying that it was actually just APIs. It was unfinished framework to build off of. But now I don't agree with the fact that he thinks that all on-desk DLC is nonsense, because there's proven facts otherwise. What I will say though is that there's the Taken King is a huge update to Destiny. It's going to include a lot more content to it, and apparently going to essentially give players the game that Destiny was meant to be. I'll reserve judgment for that.
Is it going to be the game that is it going to be the game that I wanted, or the game that everybody who currently plays Dota?
Destiny,
who knows?
Destiny, like, it is a DLC selling platform. It's not a game. It is a platform to sell you DLC.
It's an MMO. They copied the World of Warcraft model too well.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they found a way to monetize it.
Yeah, but
if you go that far, I wanted it to be MMO, close to MMO, but it's just
no, it's a very watered down MMO, but everything about it, the lackluster story, you can kind of play with people in your own world, but of course it's not massive. Of course they do the expansions, and they're very specific. It is an expansion, like an MMO.
Look, it's got a lot of disadvantages of MMOs with very few of the upside.
Yeah, but
I agree with you. As I said, they took the World of Warcraft model and consoleized it.
But the main thing about it though is the fact that it did have a lot of framework on there. Taken King takes up a lot of space on its own, but I think the reason why everybody else who don't have Taken King requires that space is probably for compatibility. I've seen a lot of games where it required you to download patches to the game so you could still play in the same universe as people who had the DLC, even if you didn't have it. So that's what I'm thinking is going on. The reason why it takes up so much is because essentially it's the compatibility for the Taken King without having it.
In all honesty, it probably is audio files as well, because if you remember from Borderlands, I believe was it Borderlands or was it Skyrim?
People underestimate audio files. Like
audio files take
add
up so
They
much.
add up.
Well, depending on what kind of audio you use. I mean, we're talking voiceovers. Use the damn MP3. Not because they sound good, but because they're good enough. The average person isn't hearing the difference.
Yeah, if
you
you're
should
talking
see
on it.
It's when they go and they release it, and then they leave a bunch of uncompressed audio files lying around.
That's what I'm thinking about, like Titanfall. Titanfall did that real bad.
Yep, it took up so much space.
Uncompressed audio.
Yeah. But in any case, though, yeah. So that I guess that wraps that up nicely. Is compress your audio files, and also don't complain about games taking up more space unless you don't want better quality games.
Yeah,
I think some of it is some people probably just want to know what is like. They want a rundown of what's taking up the space.
They want transparency.
Yeah,
maybe eventually. As games get larger, as games get larger on the console side, and companies refuse to reduce the price of their premium,
they're not going to reduce their premium
hard, and as companies refuse to reduce the price of their premium hard drive space, maybe it will push people towards PC, and the master race will take over.
No,
I mean, you look at the 360; it was like. The 250 gigabyte hard drive for like the 360, people were like, "Oh man, that's all you ever need." I'm looking at articles talking about the Xbox One, and there's people who are like looking at special editions of the Xbox One. There's people who are asking for 10 terabyte hard drives on the Xbox One.
Yeah, it's silly. But let's go ahead and get this wrapped up here. So we're going to go ahead and start with Travis and give our final thoughts for the day. So Travis, you have anything to add here at the end?
This is my first podcast ever. I had a lot of fun. I hope to appear again. Gonna have some conversation.
You'll be our Krendor. We'll just wait until we can't find another guest, and then we'll be like, "All right, Dev, come on."
Morty,
yeah, bring him on.
Travis, aka Deathshroud09, aka Krendor Impossinator.
Damn it, our guest fell through. Go get Dev.
He does a good job of sounding like Krendor. Just for anybody that's not aware, because he's not actually Krendor.
So I am. Yeah, Morty here said some very interesting things that I'm going to have to talk to him about after the show, and possibly make some plans, because there's been some things I've been thinking about.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Are any of you guys in on this?
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll get to that.
I'm just sitting here gaping praising.
Yeah, so Kev, go ahead and give us your final thoughts that include probably 3 words or 2 words. Sorry, 2 words.
Oh no, 3 words. WeGameHere.com. Check it out. Of course, you guys know me on YouTube, Kev the Gamer. Check me out there. We are, of course, doing more and more gaming content every day. And I'm going to pass it over to Joe now, because Joe's going to take about 20 minutes.
Yeah. Let me go get something to eat and something to drink. I'll be back in an hour.
Go play Shadowrun Hong Kong, especially if you like the other games, because it's like ghoulified samurai. Like, what more do you need? Like, it is a samurai ghoul who, like, it's just, what more do you need?
Yep. You know what I need? More DLC. Yeah, I need to pay for it with the season pass, and I need the DLC to not be part of the season pass, and horse armor.
Yeah.
Shadowrun doesn't do DLC. They have full-on, like, new expansions, like, every year.
And don't forget to leave the DLC on disc, because I'm not entitled to it, even though I bought the disc.
Yeah. But in any case, though, yeah, as you guys all know me, I'm Angelus de Mortiel. That's Mortiel. Jeremy still has not stolen my channel from me, fortunately enough. I'm doing more content for Dragon Age and for Warframe, and then I'm probably going to be doing some content here for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic in my quest to get a bunch of characters to level 60, which is time-consuming as hell. Anyway, but I'll leave it at that, and we'll go ahead and sign off this week, and we will see you guys next week on the Pixel Crashers podcast.